Picture this, the year is 1760. Imagine standing on the banks of a river in Great Britain, watching a town awash with smoke and clanging machinery. A new age is about to dawn, one that would forever change the way humans live, work, and interact with the world around them. The Industrial Revolution, this period of profound transformation, impacted not just a nation but the entire globe. What if I told you that standing there, you could witness the birth of modernity, a giant leap into a future filled with innovations that would shape societies, economies, and cultures for centuries to come? As you continue watching, you will uncover how this revolution wasn't merely about steam engines and factories. It was a true seismic shift that altered the fabric of life itself, affecting billions of people, then and now. You'll be intrigued by how those seemingly crude machines were the catalysts for monumental changes in everyday life, in ways you'd never expect. Let's embark on this journey, where we will not only explore the machinery and technology that heralded the Industrial Revolution but also delve deeply into its social implications and lasting legacy. You might be wondering how these changes could touch every corner of the globe, reshaping economies and societies alike. So, how did such a remarkable transformation unfold, and what secrets does it hold that continue to resonate today? In the 18th century, life revolved around agriculture, where families toiled sunup to sundown with little more than basic tools. You might think that this simpler lifestyle was idyllic, but the truth was often harsh. Pay was meager, and life expectancy was low. Enter the steam engine, a breakthrough invention that would trigger an avalanche of change. When James Watt made critical improvements to this technology, the world, particularly in Britain, began its inexorable shift into the age of industry. The steam engine didn't just transport goods, it transformed the very nature of work. Consider this: before the Industrial Revolution, crafting goods was a local affair, often done at home or in small workshops. Craftsmanship took time, and items were luxuries. With the onset of industrial machinery, production accelerated beyond imagination. Suddenly, we were not merely making tools and textiles, we were creating an economy driven by mass production. But what happens when goods become plentiful? Prices plummet, making once expensive items accessible to the masses. This cycle of production and consumption would modify human behavior in ways that remain relevant even in our internet age. Yet, the heart of this transformation lies not only in innovation but also in the people, a labor force drawn from rural to urban landscapes. As cities like Manchester and Liverpool bloomed into industrial powerhouses, they simultaneously became epicenters of social upheaval. What may surprise you is that the Industrial Revolution ignited the rise of the working class and gave birth to new social classes, leading to movements for labor rights and reform. But with this change came stark dilemmas. The allure of factory work often masked long hours, child labor, and perilous conditions. Here's something you didn't expect: the Industrial Revolution, while a hallmark of progress, raised questions about morality, ethics, and the human cost of industry. Factory owners profited immensely while workers endured oppression. Imagine being a child, waking up before dawn and toiling in a mill until nightfall, earning just enough to scrape by. These harsh realities inspired social reformers who would become the driving force behind notable improvements in labor laws. And amid the noise of machinery, a collective voice began to rise, demanding better conditions, fair pay, and a life beyond mere survival. As we reflect on these hardships, consider this pivotal question: what does it mean to strive for a better life? The structure of society began to pivot, embracing ideals rooted in equality, rights, and access. A fascinating irony emerges: this very quest for labor reform and improved rights would feed into the economic systems that thrive on a dynamic workforce. It's a dual-edged sword. While industry expanded, it also birthed a new awareness of the human condition, paving the way for a dialogue about rights that would echo throughout history. Just as we start to comprehend the growing complexity of urban life shaped by the industrial landscape, another layer of intrigue unfolds: global connections. the Industrial Revolution wasn't merely a local affair, it sparked a wave of globalization. Trade routes that had once been limited to regional exchanges expanded dramatically, with countries vying for markets and resources. It's a concept you might not associate directly with industry, but this interconnectivity formed the bedrock of the modern world. From textiles manufactured in England to the cotton fields in America, industries began to intertwine, creating a web of dependency that crossed oceans and cultures. Can you envision the far-reaching effects? Colonization and imperialism found renewed vigor as nations like Britain sought resources for their growing industries, leading to both exploitation and exchange. The world was physically connecting in ways unimagined, as advancements in transportation, such as railroads and steamships, aided this endeavor. What comes next will leave you speechless. Industries began to not only impact economies but also alter patterns of migration, forever reshaping cultures and populations. The repercussions of this global interconnectedness are still present in today's world. Think for a moment about technology. The Industrial Revolution was a proving ground for innovation that would pave the way for further advances. The telegraph, in particular, emerged as a major leap forward in communication, allowing for instant contact across long distances. It's mind-boggling to consider that the world was becoming smaller as information could be transmitted in the blink of an eye, something that laid the groundwork for the communication technologies we take for granted today. It was no longer just about goods being produced and shipped, it was also about information sharing, spearheading a new era of connectivity. But as we move deeper into this narrative of transformation, there's more to uncover about the environmental backdrop of the Industrial Revolution. You might be asking yourself, was it progress at any cost? The rapid industrialization led to profound environmental implications, an idea that resonates strongly in our contemporary discussions about sustainability and climate change. Factories unleashed pollution into the air and waterways, and the exhilarating progress came with dire consequences for the ecosystem. This foreshadowed the ongoing struggle between development and environmental stewardship, a battle that continues to define modern discourse. Consider how a single era can birth opposing forces. The Industrial Revolution's legacy is marked not only by its triumphs but also by its tribulations, a profound irony of advancement that simultaneously sowed the seeds of its own challenges. As we glance at the rise of industrial powerhouses, let's also reflect on the rebellions and movements that challenged the status quo. Craft guilds fought against the encroaching onslaught of mechanization, and artisans grew despondent as their trades were undervalued. As these tensions escalated, so did the calls for reform. A dual narrative, of progress and resistance, spilled forth from factories and into the lives of ordinary people. Now, we find ourselves at another critical junction in this narrative of transformation. As societies grappled with industrialization's dual nature, education and intellectual thought began to evolve alongside it. Social theorists and economists such as Adam Smith began to plant the seeds of modern economics, exploring concepts of capitalism and market dynamics. Equipment and energy replaced manual labor, and the once agricultural society began to give way to commerce and economic theory. As these ideas took root, they changed not only the economy but also shaped people's beliefs about what it meant to live in a society increasingly determined by trade and industry. This tangled web of change echoes through history as we examine movements that arose in response to these transformations. From the labor rights movements advocating for fair working conditions to the push for women's suffrage, the Industrial Revolution catalyzed a series of social reforms that would reshape societal values irreversibly. But what might surprise you is how these movements often fought not only for immediate betterment but also for the ideals of equity and justice, principles that would resonate through generations. As we steadily approach the modern era, the burgeoning world of possibilities emerges, giving rise to the 20th century, a period bustling with innovation and challenges driven by the very forces set in motion during the Industrial Revolution. Social and economic landscapes are ripe for change, becoming the battleground for ideas that would redefine society as we know it. But before we dive into this rapid unfolding, let's pause for a moment. It's critical to reflect on this journey we've undertaken together, a panorama of technological advancements, reforms, and societal shifts. The Industrial Revolution was more than machinery and methodologies. It represented an ever-evolving struggle between improvement and ethics, profit and people, innovation and irresponsibility. In our exploration of the first half of this transformation narrative, we witness how interconnectedness shaped both opportunity and strife, a duality that would persist throughout history. Before we continue, ask yourself how these early industrial experiences resonate with today's technological advancements, like artificial intelligence or sustainable technology. The threads linking past to present weave a complex tapestry that continues to challenge our perceptions of progress. Our journey is not yet complete. The full extent of the Industrial Revolution's impact on the world will soon unfold. Stay tuned as we dive even deeper into parts unknown and confront the questions that remain. How do we balance progress with responsibility, and what is our role in the legacy of industrial change? The story awaits, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. As we move forward, let's delve into the profound transformations of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, epochs shaped by the Industrial Revolution's early repercussions. The fallout from this period led to immense global shifts, not just economically, but politically and socially. The question arises, how do we define progress during this time? Stepping into this new era, the landscape was dotted with iron giants, skyscrapers, bridges, and factories, signifying human ingenuity. New technological marvels like electricity and the internal combustion engine began to reshape both the speed and quality of life. Yet, similarly to the earlier industrialization phase, this era came with its unique set of dilemmas. The electricity revolutionized communications and manufacturing, laying the groundwork for conveniences that seemed unimaginable just a generation prior. Factories buzzed with the energy of electric power, enhancing productivity and creating possibilities for abundant consumer goods. However, these advancements also intensified the divide between the social classes and raised pivotal questions about labor and the humane treatment of workers. Imagine cities sprawling with industry, where the air was thick with soot and the sounds of machinery became the rhythm of daily life. It was a period that brought the birth of mass consumer culture, as goods became increasingly affordable to the burgeoning middle class. Nevertheless, this consumer boom was not without its challenges. Though many enjoyed the fruits of progress, significant segments of society, particularly the working class, wrestled with the consequences of rapid industrialization. The long hours, pitiful wages, and dangerous working conditions continued to incite unrest. You might find it fascinating to consider how these groundswell sentiments catalyzed modern strikes and labor unions. Workers began to realize their collective power and organized to advocate for better wages, working conditions, and a reduction in hours. The message was clear: the triumphs of industry must benefit all, not just the wealthy elite profiting from their labor. Is it any wonder that this era saw the rise of influential trade unions and the birth of legislation aimed at safeguarding workers' rights? Education became an essential tool, empowering workers to envision a life beyond mere survival, and igniting discussions around social justice that had been dormant for so long. Here's a noteworthy revelation: these movements weren't confined merely to factory floors. They transcended borders, as the spirit of reform traveled from Britain to the rest of Europe and even to America. The impact of labor movements was felt globally, forming a shared narrative of struggle and hope. The ideals of equality began to ripple through society, fostering a newfound sense of solidarity among diverse groups. As industries pushed forward into the 20th century, they also fanned the flames of innovation in transportation. The advent of the automobile exemplified this leap, changing not just how goods moved but how people lived and interacted. The birth of the modern highway reshaped landscapes and fostered a new sense of freedom too. Imagine families embarking on road trips or workers commuting across cities as this mode of transport burgeoned. Yet, it's vital to express how with each new invention came unintended repercussions: congested cities, environmental degradation, and a looming dependency on fossil fuels. Consequently, concerns about industrialization's environmental impacts gained traction and began to meld with emerging ecological movements. The initial excitement around progress began to give way to a critical examination of the human relationship with nature. Readers should ponder, how do we balance industrial advancement with the responsibility to protect our planet and its resources? In this context, important thinkers and activists arose, urging society to reconsider its priorities. The birth of conservation movements marked a turning point as voices called for responsible stewardship of the earth, laying the groundwork for the environmental practices we navigate today. Now let's shift our focus to global politics, where the shadows of industrial advancements extended far beyond factories and workforces. This period also witnessed the rapid rise of imperialism, as powerful nations sought to expand their empires in pursuit of resources for their burgeoning industries. The Industrial Revolution inadvertently fueled colonial ambitions, as countries like Britain, France, and Belgium sought to build vast overseas empires to secure vital raw materials. The repercussions of such territorial expansions are immense. Colonized nations faced exploitation, cultural erasure, and the brutal realities of subjugation. Ironically, while industry heralded progress for some, it often dismantled entire cultures and disrupted local economies elsewhere. The British Empire's quest for cotton not only fueled their factories but also influenced the very social fabric of colonial societies, creating a cycle of dependency that would last for generations. Consider this irony: the same forces that drove industrial powerhouses to new heights also sowed the seeds of dissent and resistance among colonized peoples. Anti-colonial movements emerged as societies challenged imperial rule, longing for autonomy and the chance to shape their destinies. The plight of working people echoed around the globe, inspiring rebellions against oppression and igniting conversations about self-determination. The interconnectedness cultivated by the Industrial Revolution became a double-edged sword, linking prosperity and exploitation into a complex web of historical consequence. Yet amid this tumult, the impact of technological advancements shaped not only economies but cultures. We often forget that the spread of ideas like socialism and communism also gained traction during this period, as thinkers sought to challenge the dominant capitalist structures born from industrial growth. In various parts of the world, workers began to rally behind these new ideologies, envisioning societies built on principles of equality and shared prosperity. The ripples of change were felt as intellectual movements unfolded side by side with industrial expansions, presenting a fresh set of ideas to the human experience. As we approach the mid-20th century, the effects of the Industrial Revolution are undeniably profound, certainly more complex than a mere tale of machinery and governance. The stage was set for the seismic events of the World Wars, where industrial advancements were weaponized in unprecedented ways. Technological innovations that had once served a purpose of transport or communication were reimagined for warfare, resulting in untold human suffering. The wars propelled further factories to produce goods at an alarming rate, but the consequences weighed heavily on the social fabric, creating divisions and instabilities worldwide. In the aftermath, the world sought rebuilding, both physically and ideologically. Lessons learned during these transformative years placed an individual's experience at the forefront of discussions about progress. Economic structures began to evolve, with nations reconsidering how to distribute wealth and protect their citizens. The welfare state emerged, offering safety nets for the working class, while initiatives to promote education and healthcare became necessities, not luxuries. A stunning observation herein lies in the acknowledgement of how deeply interconnected we are, shaped by the very history we've traced. The Industrial Revolution was the crucible in which modern society was forged, influencing technologies, cultures, and the very structures of governance around the world. It prompted a search for a new identity in an industrialized landscape, one that valued social equity and community welfare. Reflecting on the societal shifts of this era, one undeniable truth emerges: the twin forces of progress and social responsibility increasingly became intertwined. Movements advocating for civil rights, gender equality, and social reforms showed us not only the potential of collective action but also its moral imperatives. As we see the undercurrents of these movements continue to shape current global society, we begin to unravel the cords linking the past to our future. Today, as we sit in a world that stands on the shoulders of this rich legacy, we would do well to examine how these past lessons can guide us as we navigate new advancements in artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and green technologies. The challenge lies in ensuring these innovations do not reproduce the same inequities or environmental damages of the past, urging us to craft a future aligned with shared prosperity and responsibility. In conclusion, the Industrial Revolution reshaped not just economies and societies, but personal experiences and global connections that resonate to this day. It begs us to question how we balance innovation with ethics, progress with responsibility, and prosperity with sustainability. The story we began together underscores that while the machines churned out goods and production soared, it was the human struggle, the fight for dignity, rights, and justice, that truly marked this transformative era. As we herald the future, let us honor that historical journey by redefining what progress looks like today. Let the intricate tapestry of our shared past guide us towards a world that prioritizes equity, dignity, and sustainability. The legacy of the Industrial Revolution is not merely a chapter in history, it is a clarion call to influence our present and shape a better tomorrow. The question before us is clear: how will we write the next chapters of this ongoing narrative? The power lies within our hands, waiting for the next generational leaders to take on the mantle, and the world watches eagerly.